Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my review of the new Bare Minerals Bare Pro Performance Wear Liquid Foundation. I actually didn't even know this foundation was coming out. I went into Ulta last week for something else and I saw the display right when I walked in. Since then I've seen that a bunch of big influencers have been sent this whole range, so lucky them. But I actually had to go up to the display and choose my own color and read about it. It is a 24-hour wear, it is oil-free, full coverage, it's supposed to improve the texture of your skin over time. So those are all music to my ears as someone with really oily skin, large pores, texture issues. I really do like a long-wearing foundation. If you're new to my channel, I'm just gonna let you know that I really like full coverage, long-wear foundations. They just help, being that I have an oily skin. I like something that stays on a long time. It doesn't sink into my pores, emphasize texture, all that stuff. And my favorite foundations, the ones that you'll see me use in a lot of my videos, are the Estee Lauder Double Wear, the Kat Von D Locket, the MAC Studio Fix Fluid. So you can kind of get a feel for what my favorite foundations are. So I wanted to see how this one would stack up. So if you're interested in hearing my review, by the way, I use this foundation for 3 full days. So I like to do reviews after I've used them a couple times and a couple different methods of application so I can give you a more comprehensive review. So if you're interested in hearing the negatives and the positives about this and what I think about it, then please keep on watching. So when I walked up to the display in Ulta, the first thing I noticed was that there was a pretty large range of colors. 30 colors in the range. So that really excited me. So the top level had the lighter shades and then of course the darker shades were on the bottom. There weren't nearly as many dark shades as there were light shades. So I picked up one from the top row. Usually I am like the 3rd or 4th color in a range, sometimes the 5th during the summer. The 5th lightest, I mean. So I picked up, I think it was like the 5th lightest, and I swatched it on my hand and it was so light. And I thought, surely this is gonna oxidize to a darker color because being the 5th or 6th one in, these should be darker than they were coming out because I did try the one next to it too, and they were both super light. So I went down the display and I actually picked up number 16 Sandstone. So the 16th color in the range. Now, when you look on Ulta's website, it does say that it is medium skin with warm undertones. I didn't know that before going in. I probably would have picked up 15, which is a little bit more neutral, a little less yellow, but I don't really consider myself a medium skin tone, so a little strange, but they do run light. So that is the first thing I wanna say. They do have a pump. They are in a bottle very much like MAC Studio Fix Fluid. For a second, first time I opened this bottle, the pump kind of came out with it, so I thought it didn't have a pump. The pump was kind of attached to the lid, so I thought it didn't have a pump, so I was a little frustrated because I like a foundation to have a pump. So this is the shade, and even when I swatched this, I thought, God, that looks pretty light for being the 16th shade in a range. But when I put it on like my arm and it sank right in, and I did walk around the store just to see if it changed color, if it oxidized and got orange or dark or anything like that, and it didn't. So I decided to pick this up. I believe it's $34. I'll put the correct price somewhere, but I don't think $34 for 1 ounce, I'm pretty sure it is 1 ounce, as most foundations are, is a bad price considering I pay that much for a lot of my other foundations that I have used and tried. So that's the first thing I definitely want you to take note of, that they do run pretty light. So hopefully this is a good reference to you. I usually wear a NC 25-ish. I mix my Studio Fix shades if you're thinking about matte colors, and I am in number 16. So keep that in mind if you're ordering sight unseen. So a couple days ago, I asked my Snapchat followers if you preferred foundation reviews that had check-ins, where every couple hours I get on my iPhone and I show you what the foundation looks like and I tell you what it looks like. But I also mentioned that sometimes I feel like it doesn't really come across in the video, that I'm trying to explain to you what's going on with the product, but it's not necessarily translating on camera, even though I think I already said this, I use my iPhone to be as true to life as possible. So I wasn't sure if that was really a necessity, and half of you said that you liked the check-ins, and then half of you said that it was fine just to explain to us what was happening. So I am gonna show you a little bit later one check-in, but that was done after about 10 hours of wear. But before we get to that, I wanna show you the demo. So this is my 4th morning putting on this foundation. The first 2 days, I did not use any sort of primer. I just put it on over the same moisturizer I always use. And then yesterday, I decided that I was going to try it with a primer because I wanted to see if it helped control the oiliness, because that was really my only issue with this foundation, was that I did feel like it got a little oily. No more so than any other foundation, but I really wanted this foundation to be perfect because I loved it in so many other ways. So I thought I am going to give it another shot with something that I know will work for oil control, and that is Milk of Magnesia. I've shown this in some of my other videos when I've had tips and tricks for summer skin, etc. It is just a great thing to put on, especially like in the T-zone where you might get excessively oily. The trick is to use it very, very sparingly and take a cotton ball and just tap it on my T-zone. Now I also tried this using 2 different applications. The first 2 days I used a Sigma F80 flat top kabuki brush, and then yesterday I wanted to see how it would work with a damp beauty blender. That's usually my preferred method of foundation application, but I liked the coverage that I got using the flat top kabuki, but I wanted to see if using the beauty blender gave me any less coverage, just if it looked any different. So I decided that it actually looked more airbrushed with the beauty blender, so that's how I'm gonna apply it for you today. I'm gonna put 1 pump, actually that was 1.5 pumps, on the beauty blender, and I'm going to start with the side since it's closer to you. Now, I'm gonna talk about the colors in another part of the video. This lighting is showing it going on a little bit yellow, but I like yellow in my foundations because, not too yellow obviously, but I like yellow because it counteracts this redness that I have going on. So I just push it in, and a little bit goes a long way. It's not like as concentrated as, say, their Marc Jacobs Remarkable. That one you use just the tiniest bit and it spreads out so much. But really, a pump or so is all you need for half your face. And then I'm doing another pump for the other side. And this is just the kind of coverage I like. It reminds me very much of the coverage I get from Estee Lauder Double Wear. I do have some dryness from my new skincare routine, which is Retin-A, and so I have a little surface dehydration, but this is performing better than some other foundations I've tried on my dry patches. And it's not emphasizing pores, it definitely blurs them a little bit. So this is the foundation on, obviously. It covered all of that redness. I'm gonna kind of get as close as I can. It's full coverage, but it doesn't look or feel cakey. It's matte, but it's not flat. You can still see a little sheen on the face. And the color, once again, I am in Sandstone 16. So now I'm gonna go and put on the rest of my makeup. I am gonna powder this lightly with a little Ben Nye Luxury Loose Powder, and then I will finish up this review for you. So I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I love this foundation. I think you could kind of tell by that demo, but I wanna tell you what happened each day that I wore it. The first time I applied it, I was in love. I felt that the color was still a little light for me, so I spent the whole day checking in mirrors, seeing if it would oxidize. It does not oxidize darker. It does not oxidize orange, which was nice. The coverage stayed on all day. The only downside was that, and as I think I mentioned in the demo, that I felt a little oily. So day 1 and day 2, I felt a little oily maybe after about the 4-hour mark. The first 3 hours were great. I thought, this is it. I have finally found it, the perfect foundation for my oily skin. Well, then the 4th hour rolled around and the oil started breaking through, and then around 6 hours, I went to blot with blotting papers, and I felt like it did take off a little bit of the product around my nose. So I decided that on the 3rd day of use, which is what you're gonna see the check-in, in a couple of minutes. That I decided to use the primer or the Milk of Magnesia that you just saw. So I used that yesterday and that really, really helped. It definitely helped keep the oils away, and I was just so basically I love everything about this foundation. The only thing was that if you use it without a primer, you might get a little shiny after the 3rd hour, but it will not break up. It'll stay looking just as good at the end of the day as it will at the beginning. And now I'm gonna show you, because I didn't do check-ins throughout the day because it just wasn't necessary. It just looked good the whole time. I'm gonna show you this check-in that I filmed last night after wearing it for 9 hours. But I've had this foundation on since 6:30 a.m. and it is now 4:30 p.m. and I am just so impressed with how this foundation looks. I did use some Milk of Magnesia today to see if it helped with the oiliness, and it most certainly did. I just did a light dusting of powder, but overall, I just cannot believe how well this foundation holds up. It looks just applied. And my blush still looks good too. Usually with any foundation, at this point in time, after this many hours, I would feel like I would have to touch up my blush, like it's just kind of sunken in or the oils have eaten it up. And I still feel like the blush looks just the way it did when I applied it this morning. And yeah, this looks really, really good. It is probably my new favorite foundation. It can definitely replace my Double Wear. It can definitely replace my MAC Studio Fix Fluid. And I'm really happy about that because Bare Minerals is a cruelty-free company. Now their parent company, Shiseido, is not cruelty-free, but Bare Minerals itself is, they do not test on animals, they do not sell in China, and that makes me really happy because I really am trying to move into an entirely cruelty-free direction. It's just so hard because some of my holy grails are from companies, unfortunately, like MAC, that are not cruelty-free. So even though you can look up this information on Ulta's website, I am just gonna tell you a couple more things about this foundation that really intrigued me, that it helps to improve the texture of your skin. That's a big deal for me. It says it is clinically shown to improve the appearance of skin texture up to 50% after 6 weeks. It's also clinically shown to minimize the appearance of pores over time. And it says that it is so pure, you can sleep in it. And that has been Bare Minerals' mantra from the get-go when they first launched their powder foundation. I could never wear Bare Minerals foundations because the powders just didn't work for me. The matte, the original, I used to sell that when I had my makeup boutique. It was our best-selling product, but I could not wear it. It didn't, even the matte was too shiny. It emphasized my pores. It didn't wear very long. Of course, I love the idea of a 100% pure makeup, but the truth is it just looked like crap on me, basically. So also, I find it interesting that Bare Minerals, when I sold the product and I would speak to the rep over and over, she was constantly in communication with us because it was our top selling product and we were their biggest store, their biggest seller in that region. So I would talk to the rep all the time and she swore up and down that they were never gonna come out with a liquid foundation. Bare Minerals was never gonna do a liquid foundation. But lo and behold, this is now, gosh, time goes way too fast, like 7 years since then, and here they are with a great foundation. They really knocked this one out of the park. As I said earlier, this is not a sponsored video. I paid for this with my own money and I love it. I love it. And I hope you guys loved the video. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you are subscribed, please click on the notifications if you're not finding my videos in your subscription feed right away. I know a lot of YouTubers are having this issue where they're being unsubscribed from channels or the videos aren't showing up in their feeds for several hours after they're uploaded. So be sure to click on the notifications. You can also follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and Twitter. All of that is Risa Does Makeup. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you very soon.